Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the SOFREP.com weekly news roundup. I'm your host, former Navy SEAL, Editor-in-Chief, Brandon Webb. Top stories this week. What the drone crash over the Black Sea tells us about the war in Ukraine. The top 3 places for veterans to retire outside of the US. And the third story I want to dig into is why are all these Russian generals dying like cannon fodder in Ukraine? Very interesting, the difference in philosophies, leadership philosophies, and command and control structure. Essentially, Russia's military treats their enlisted like cannon fodder. They need direct supervision, cannot make decisions on their own, and need to have senior officers on the battlefield giving very specific direction. Russia's enlisted can barely relieve themselves without asking permission. So Russia sends their top-ranking officers to the front lines, and they're extremely exposed, and that's why they're dying like crazy. Essentially, you contrast that with the American style of military leadership, which enables its enlisted to make decisions. The strategy is set, the directions and orders are given, but the senior enlisted, what we call non-commissioned officers in the American military, are allowed to make decisions as long as they're directionally on point with the strategy that's set by senior ranking officers. Non-commissioned officers, or NCOs, are like managers. They can make decisions on their own based on the overall strategy. And I want to put this in contrast to imagine a Starbucks. One is run by the Russian military, and one Starbucks is run by the American military. In the Russian version of Starbucks, the customer complains, and the barista has to go run and get the manager to figure out what he can do to make the customer happy. The customer spills a drink on the floor. The barista has to go run and ask permission if he can clean up the mess. That's essentially, in a nutshell, how Russia treats its enlisted, who have virtually no decision-making authority whatsoever. In the American Starbucks, the barista has full autonomy to deal with the customer issue. If a drink spills on the floor, they can clean it up because it's all under the set direction of the manager of the store. And so they empower people to get the job done. And that's very basic, but a big, big difference between Western military leadership style and Russian military leadership style. You would never see, in a very rare case, a senior ranking general or admiral outside of the wire in a combat zone giving combat orders. That's for the junior officers and the NCOs to do those tasks. The only exception, I would say, General Mattis, who I remember pulling me off a helicopter in Afghanistan in 2001, pointing to the prison camp in Kandahar and saying, "You see that camp over there, sailor?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That prison camp is full. You get my drift? We don't need any more prisoners." I said, "Roger that, sir." So that's it for this week's news roundup. And remember, whoever said the pen is mightier than the sword obviously never encountered automatic weapons.